show. Step off.
Come on, won't you say it loud? Ayo, we gon' turn this out. Tom Clock's main event. Dropkick now and powerbomb. Ayo, bro, let's bring this on. Hey, hey, what is up? Oh, captain, my captain, show the stuff. Power slammer, suplex 2. Hot garbage is just for you. Big breaker, cut a cold red. Figure 4, hot times ahead. Since 2014, it's on. It's a 10 count, but stand up strong. Hey kid, no DQ, strong style. Chop, this is how it goes. Tom Clock's main event. Tom Clock's main event. Tom Clock's main event. Tom Clock's main event.
Hey, what's up, kids? Welcome back to the program. Tom Clark here with you, back on a Friday. No one's here. I'm kidding. Some people are here. It is a Friday after all. What's up, folks? Welcome back. Hope you've had a good week. Happy Friday to you one and all. Hope everybody out there is doing well. Hope you're protecting yourselves. Hope you're safe. Hope we just hope everybody made it through Helene okay and are kind of getting back to some semblance of normalcy on your end. Fingers crossed for you. And if you're in the Florida area, man, I hope you guys are doing okay. Please take care of yourselves down there because I'm sure it's bad. I've seen pictures and video, and it feels like Helene all over again. So, yeah, everybody out there, man, please be safe and do what you can, kids, to take care of each other. And, you know, I don't want to get too far into the weeds on that, but let me just tell you, man, the stuff that's going on out there, we don't do politics here, but it's my show. If you were spouting off about things you don't know about, if you're spreading lies and misinformation, shame on you, because real people are out there struggling and real volunteers are out there helping. Yes, they're there. So again, if you're spreading lies and stuff, take a minute, go look in the mirror and ask yourself what you're doing with your life, because shame on you. That's all I'll say about that. People need to get a grip. I just don't understand it. Do me a favor, kids, while you're here, please smash the like button. We got a guest on board here waiting for us today, and we're going to talk about some WrestleDream, so we hope you kids are ready for that. This is episode number 350, by the way, so welcome to it. And again, as we get started here, if you will smash the like button, and if you will share this link on your socials, on your Facebook, wherever you can, I'd greatly appreciate it. Episode 350, my friends. Let me just tell you something. I'll bring on Chris in just a second. I started this show, the first episode, August 12th, 2014. That's a long time ago, man. A lot has happened since then. In my life, in your life, in the world, all kinds of good stuff, bad stuff, horrible stuff, wacky stuff, you name it, it's happened. And yeah, look, you do anything long enough, it becomes a time capsule, yeah? So that's kind of where the pods are now. Like the main event since 2014. And the 6M is only since 2020, and then Two Nations only since last year. But again, Chris knows what I'm talking about. You do something for an extended period of time, especially a podcast, it kind of tracks with what's going on in the world at the time. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for hanging out. I appreciate you very much. If you ever listened, subscribed, downloaded, followed the show on boinkstudios.com, being here for me through thick and thin, I very much appreciate your time. You guys are awesome. And thanks as always for hanging out. And let's go ahead and bring on our guest, kids. You know him from the Patton Report, because you don't know yet, but you're going to know because it's coming eventually. He's my hired muscle. He's my heater. He's the man that's got my back this week. No more so-and-so nonsense like we had last week where people getting all up in their feelings because they didn't like the way I said stuff. Uh-oh. A podcast host said stuff on his own podcast that people didn't like. Hey, man, I am my own governor. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't need a governor put on me. I regulate how I act and what I talk. You know what? Because I'm a grown man. I can talk to you with respect, or I can choose to be a little salty, which is maybe what happened last week. Let's bring him on. Folks, you know him. Chris Patton is here. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing great, Tom. Thank you for the introduction. I'll try my best to keep people in check this week. I heard it was a little wild for you last week.
Yes, you are my test. Your test to me. You are
Yeah.
you're my diesel. You're the diesel to my Shawn Michaels. How about that?
Yeah, my Eeyore personality should shut some of that down with talking about AEW. Maybe they'll just be like, yeah, this guy's thinking in the right direction.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. Well, welcome to the show, man. I appreciate you coming on today. Eric Jackson in the house. Good to see you. Ray all day talking about Diddy. We don't need to talk about that. That's a lot of mess over there, as my mom would say. It's a mess. JP, what's good? Good to see you. Brianne is here. Eric Jackson says he's in Florida. Man, I hope you're safe down there, friend. I hope you are. Please take care of yourself, man. And if you're riding it out or if you got out of town, whatever that looks like, man, I hope you're good. And again, thanks everybody for coming on board with us today. I know it's a Friday. Everybody's wanting to start the weekend. We'll try not to make this thing last 3 hours. It is a preview show, and we'll get a little bit in the weeds in terms of match predictions, but we'll try not to make it last all day. Oktoberfest, Chris, is happening outside these doors about 3.5 minutes into downtown here in Hickory. So, yeah.
Is you going to go get you some brats and sausages?
I may walk. Look, I could actually walk there from the office here, so I could walk down there if I wanted to. But yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking about it. It just started today. We've got good weather here, man. Is it doing anything funky up your way or no?
No, I mean last week, or I guess during Helena, and shout out to anyone that had suffered through that. I hope you guys are doing well and getting the help you need. I know that up near you, Asheville got hit really hard, but yeah, luckily for me, by the time it kind of just went around Lawrenceville, Georgia, which is outside of Atlanta, so we didn't get too much here, luckily, like I said. But yeah, no, it's actually feels like fall outside for the first time in a weird way. It was I walked outside. My house was did not turn the heat on last night. Woke up and it was like 61 degrees in here, which is awesome for me because I try to keep the house at like 68. So yeah, nice. It's like 71 out there right now. So how about you?
My house is usually on 72 or 73, and I thought that was chilly, but wow, 68, man.
Yeah, man, we try to keep it real chill around here. If you get too cold in my house, I'll hand you a blanket.
Oh man. I'll be honest with you, man. I enjoy the fall, but I'm on the record as hating the winter. I'm not a cold weather guy. I don't like snow. I don't like ice. I don't like bitter cold where my skin hurts. I hate that, man.
Georgia has gotten so hot over the past 10 years that anything that's not spring or summer, I'm happy about, because winter here's, we're going to have like one or two really cold days, like last year, so I will take it. I hate walking out and it feels like 105. That's and also mosquitoes. You know how that is in the South.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, spring and summer, they bring on the mosquitoes. So as soon as it gets cold enough for those, I was trying to say this politely, those nuisances to die off, I'll be very happy.
Yes.
You're a very happy man.
Yes. Well, no, I feel your pain, but again, I can't stand much cold, man. Like I do like to be cool in the summertime, of course, but there is a limit how cold I like it. Ray, my son's doing good. I appreciate you asking. He's still working his first job, and he's working right now. Actually, I got to pick him up tonight. So JP says, sounds like my wife. He hates the snow, and she hates the snow and blizzards also. Yeah, it's not for me. Mean Gene's here, kids. Says, hey, everyone, I'm sorry I'm late. Florida also, you're in Florida as well. Gene, please be safe down there. Gene is braving the storm to watch the show, which means no one else has any excuses. But again, thanks for everybody that's here, and hopefully we'll get some more folks coming in just a bit. And again, before we get cranking here, kids, if you will, please and thank you, hit that heart button, whatever you got that's real nice and positive, hit that for me, and also share the show. Let's go ahead and jump into this. Kids, I don't know if you know it, but we've got a show coming up tomorrow night because there's just not enough of them. I'm not complaining. I love pro wrestling. So, I'm good with this. AEW WrestleDream is coming up tomorrow night. Whether or not you think it's a dream is completely your opinion. But we've got some matches here to talk about. So, Chris, as of right now, there are 11 matches on this card. Some of them I'm very, very much looking forward to, and others I'm kind of half-hearted on, but we'll see. We'll get your take here as well and see what you think here. let's start out with the top of the card, and by top I mean probably, the show, the pre-show, and then hopefully this is probably pre-show, I'd say, and then we get into the real card. Atlantis Jr. versus Brian Cage. I've seen Atlantis Jr. here and there. Cage, look, I don't want to go off on a rant here, but I think Cage is actually underrated, and maybe I'm alone in that thought. I don't think he gets enough credit, dude. You have any thoughts on Cage specifically in this match?
I mean, I guess we're going to give predictions as we go, or do you want to wait till the end on that? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Atlantis Jr. is probably going to retain here, right? Because he hasn't had the belt that long. But yeah, as far as Brian Cage being underrated, underutilized maybe would be a better term. I don't know that, underrated is kind of weird in the realm of AEW and the role that they've asked him to kind of do, which is this in between of Ring of Honor and kind of coming in as, he kind of reminds me of like what they used to do with Kane in the mid card, where they would just throw him in as a random obstacle here and there. I think there's more to Brian Cage than that. So I would say underutilized. I think he's respected though, as far as his in-ring work for the most part. He does a little too much sometimes. I will say that for my taste, for as big as he is and the people that they have him wrestling, he maybe gets a little too spot fest for me personally. But
yeah, I can see that.
That's a preference thing though.
No, I hear that's fair. I've told this story before. I'll make it quick, but in a promotion I worked with years ago, we had a guy working our kid in the main event. I call him a kid because he was skin and bones, such a good worker, but he was tall. It was like Barry Windham before Barry put on. It was like Kendall Windham, tall and lanky, right? And he's working a guy who came in with George South, and this guy's 300 pounds and 6'7". Dude, I'm watching from the commentary table. He's taking arm drags. He's taking body slams. He's taking all this stuff. And the crowd is going nuts through the whole match. And after the show, we get back through the curtain and I'm being cool with him. But I'm like, you don't have to feed as much as you're feeding to that. He goes, man, he said, I want to wrestle, dude. I don't want to stand there and have kids bumping off me and falling down. He said, I want to work a match. And he said, besides, did you hear that crowd? He's like, because we were talking about putting the title on him. He goes, I don't want your title. Put it on that kid I worked. Did you hear how they were popping for him? So, I mean, I don't know that that's Cage's viewpoint. Maybe it's not. But I agree with you. There's certain times when Cage does stuff, I'm like, you didn't need to take that slam or whatever. You know what I mean? But maybe that's what's happening.
Yeah, it's more about like some of the topes and things that he does that it's not necessarily fitting depending on who he's wrestling. Like, when he's wrestling someone that's like the size of Nick Jackson, for instance, why is he doing like, a moonsault, for instance? But that's kind of just his style, and there's nothing wrong with that. Just not necessarily my cup of tea.
Nicholas Jackson.
He had a pretty great run in TNA before leaving there. And it's this was years ago, but yeah, so it's kind of hard for me to call him underrated because I think people that know Brian Cage don't think he's necessarily underrated in the ring. You know what I mean? I'd almost, like I said, underutilized. Maybe.
I'm okay with that. And look, if I'm wrong about the underrated part, that's awesome. Because I do think he's very effective in the ring. Maria, good to see you. Everybody, please welcome Marie here from Peaches and Power Bombs. Your boy here, meaning me, will be on that show coming up on Tuesday. And as soon as I know the time, I will send it and we'll promote the devil out of it. She said, good to see you again. Tom didn't think I was going to make it with the hurricane. Man, there's 3 people living in Florida that's watching me. Shut up. Marie, you're the best. Thank you so much.
They know how big of a fan of old FCW you were.
Well,
they know your love of Dusty.
Oh, well, I'm a Dusty guy till the day I die, baby. But they may have just heard that you're on the show, Chris. Maybe that's what did it. Let's be honest.
I doubt it, but maybe.
You never can tell. So let's see. Augie Andy was here earlier. My friend, I didn't mean to ignore you. How are you doing? So again, kids, thanks for coming by and hanging out. We appreciate you. We are reviewing WrestleDream. And I'm going to go with you on Atlantis Jr. on this. Although, to be honest, Brian Cage, I wouldn't mind seeing him with the ROH World TV Championship. They use him primarily on the B shows anyway, don't they? Like you're right. Atlantis hasn't held the belt long enough, but if there's something happened in Mexico where he's needed back, maybe he'll drop the title. Who knows?
Yeah, but they like using those titles in Mexico and kind of doing that back and forth. That's the other thing is they do like their titles being on AEW TV and vice versa. So I could go either way on that because honestly, I'm probably not going to watch a lot of Ring of Honor here in the near future. So it's kind of it's a pre-show match, right? So
yeah. Well, speaking of Ring of Honor, let's get this out of the way. Mark Briscoe defending the ROH World Championship against Chris Jericho. I'll let you go. Go ahead. Tell me what you got.
Yeah, Mark Briscoe should win this match.
Should.
That's it.
He should.
Unless people want to hear me yell more about Chris Jericho. I feel like every time I come on here, it's just me yelling about how Chris Jericho needs to go away for a while. So just copy and paste everything I've said in the past like 5 or 6 times I've been on here.
Yeah, I think Jericho's going over.
He's already held. Didn't he already have the Ring of Honor World Championship like not that long ago? Maybe like within a year.
Yeah,
year ago.
I don't want him to, but because look, and maybe you and I talked a bunch, which is why we were a little bit late, kids. My apologies. When you're friendly with people and you can just talk, that's what happens. But we were talking a little bit before we went live here today about the way things go and how things play out and all this other stuff. But I just don't understand this idea of why put this guy over? Because to me, in my chair from where I'm sitting, my question is always, who did this help? And if we don't know yet, because they're still playing out a storyline, that's fine. But if the storyline plays out and at the end of it, you still don't know who it helped, then again, why would Chris Jericho go over on Mark Briscoe? I don't know who it helps. Chris doesn't need to pin anyone. Doesn't mean he needs to lose all the time either, right? I'm not dumb. But he doesn't need to beat Mark here, dude. What did you think about him calling out and mentioning Jay like he did last week or the week before?
I'm sure he ran it by Mark first, right? So it's kind of hard for me to have an opinion about it. He's not even the first person to do it in AEW, so it's whatever. As long as he ran it by Mark and Mark was cool with it, it's hard for me to have a problem with it, right? It's fair. Cheap heat. It's cheap. It's very cheap heat. Like I would expect more of Chris Jericho, but like I said, I think he's kind of burned his own self out at this point. Like he's been day one AEW with basically no breaks, which is kind of part of the problem.
It is. Again, it's what we said. We said it before several times. How can I miss you if you don't go away? Again, I think he goes over. I hope I'm wrong. I love Mark. I said to Phil, I think I said it here I forget who I said it to. It's been a while. Mark Briscoe's got a job for life, in my opinion, unless he just decides he doesn't want to wrestle anymore. Because I think they love him. He always gets a great reaction. I've never heard that Mark Briscoe made an enemy. I can't even say without laughing. He doesn't make enemies. He's just such a good dude. And he's awesome. He can out-pop anybody on the card on any given night. That's how popular he is, man. So,
with the exception of maybe Bryan Danielson on this card, he's probably the biggest babyface they have. If they're going to have him drop the title to move him on to something else, then that's fine, right? But it's more likely that someone will show up to help Mark Briscoe, and this thing unfortunately just continues down the road, which I don't necessarily look forward to either, just because I think it's a waste of Mark Briscoe. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
It kind of seems like a spot where Jay Lethal might help him or make a save or something.
Yeah, that's fair. Moving on here, kids. This match, Chris, happening for reasons. Darby Allin versus Brody King. I think the only reason this match is happening is like, hey, we need another match. You guys work great together. You just want to work a match? Sure, okay. And now they're on the card. I don't care. It's fine. There's no reason for this match to happen. There's no storyline. There's no title. There's no title shot. There's no stip. There's nothing. This is just going to be, oh my God, Brody King is going to kill Darby Allin tonight. And that's fine, right? Like, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. But look, Chris, at the very least, this is going to be entertaining to watch.
This might actually be the best match on the card.
Ooh.
Just their contrast in size and style, and we've seen them kind of work together before. And looking at the other stuff on this card, we have the three-way we're about to talk about with Ospreay, Ricochet, and Takeshita. And then the rest of this card, there's not really, at least as far as like if you're looking for high in ring quality work, is not anything that really stands out. This is one of their weaker pay-per-view cards, in my opinion.
I agree. I totally agree. Yeah, I think Darby needs the win. I think he needs to win this.
Darby definitely needs the win, but we've looked up his pay-per-view win-loss record in the recent past. So
Fair.
I'm going to just go with my gut feeling and the statistics, and Brody King's going to win.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm going to stick with Darby because I feel like you're right. His stats are not good on pay-per-view, but we shall see. I'm interested to see how it plays out. Another match that doesn't seem to need to happen for any good reason except that it should be really good is the AEW TNT Championship match, Kazuchika Shibata, the wrestler. Dude, I freaking love Shibata so much. Challenging Jack Perry. Jack Perry's not losing the title, in my opinion. I don't think it's happening. And I'll be honest with you, Chris, I think this will be two phenomenal shows. I thought Jack Perry did very well with Bryan Danielson. I thought it was a really good match. And like, people are upset. Well, it's not a main. Yeah, you're right. Maybe it's not a pay-per-view main event. Maybe he's not there yet. Maybe that's right. It's true. But I don't think if you're upset, if anyone's upset how Perry did, I think you're missing the point. I thought he did very well. And I think he and Shibata here will have a good match too.
It seems like Okada's not on this card, so I'm assuming Jack Perry retains with some sort of Okada interference to set up Shibata versus Okada.
Ooh, I'd be here for that. I'd totally be here for that.
And the things that work to Jungle Jack Perry's strengths most of the time don't really work in a Shibata match. So this might be a kind of a, because we're not talking like 2012 Shibata, right? Mm-hmm. So we'll see how they're able to. It'll be interesting to see how they work that match, honestly, what they're going to do. Because you can't go with like, the way Jack Perry bullied Darby Allin, for instance. You can't really do that with Shibata. It kind of works against Shibata's character.
Yeah.
So I would expect a weird finish on this one, possibly involving Okada, and then you can go back to Okada versus Shibata and play off the fact that. Well, I was going to say Okada almost killed this man, but Shibata almost killed himself fighting Okada, I guess would be the better way to put that.
Yeah. I do think Perry retains here. But, again, as we said earlier, where things go in the future, we don't really know. But this company's not give us a lot of hope for certain things because, again, the hot shot booking, the storylines that go nowhere, the whole heel and face dynamic. I won't rant, kids. I gave my opinion last week, and I'm sticking to it. Mean Gene says, I was so hoping that Daniel Garcia against Jack, but maybe down the road, yes. In my opinion, Chris, Garcia should take the title from Jack, but we'll see if that even happens.
Yeah. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it would be fun to see for sure. This one's kind of weird because it's a Shibata Jungle Jack Perry match. Mm-hmm. It's a Jungle Boy versus Shibata match. If I told you that like 5 years ago, what would you picture in your head of how that would play out, right? So Shibata
goes over. That's how I would think because
right.
It's right. Which shows Jack's growth at this point too, if for no other reason that he's heavily featured next to the Bucks.
Yeah, and kind of goes back to what you were talking about with last week, as far as them giving a push to someone and maybe some long-term story booking. They have kind of tried to do that with Jack Perry. At least they've pushed the chips in on the guy. At the very least, they're trying to get behind him and make him a top heel. It's just really hard when the majority of your company is heels to begin with.
Mhm.
and you saddled him with the Young Bucks and Okada in a heel faction. So,
Robbie, yes, supposedly Killswitch, aka Luchasaurus, is having health issues. Supposedly that is true. So we'll see how long he's out. Hopefully not. Hopefully not too long here. So yeah, we'll see. So AEW Internet, we got tiles everywhere. AEW International Championship match: Will Ospreay versus Ricochet versus Konosuke Takeshita. Real quick, if anyone's upset about that Ricochet and Ospreay match, I mean, did you tune in thinking Flair and Steamboat? You're right. Did you? I'm speechless. I don't get it. Like every time they lay hands on each other, people get all sorts of wacky and slam their hands on their desks and throw stuff at their TV. And I don't get it, man. But Chris, I think this will bring the house down in terms of spots, if nothing else. All three of these guys are excellent in the ring. We know the kind of year Ospreay's had. Takeshita is on another level. Takeshita in the G1 was absolutely on another level. Ricochet just getting started in AEW. I think Ospreay retains here. What's your thoughts?
I think Ospreay retains, and I'm actually happy that there's an anchor here with Takeshita, because it will have to break up the flow of them trying to recreate that moment that they had years ago, which is what they tried to do in that singles match. And they're both older and slower than they were.
Sure.
6 years ago when everyone freaked out about that. They're not going to have the kind of match, like you said, it's not going to be a Flair Steamboat match. So I don't know what people were expecting. But it was a bad version of the match that I would expect out of those two. I think, that's the other side of that coin. And I think Will Ospreay actually said that he was kind of disappointed in that match as well. So we'll see. He's got a chance to make up for it here. I like the addition with this. And I generally hate three-way matches or triangle matches, as you know, but it kind of is going to force this match to be different than just Ospreay versus Ricochet. So it'll be interesting to see how they work that in.
Ray says, do you think Ospreay will lose because of turn from his old partner? I don't know who we're talking about here, Ray, because Kyle Fletcher didn't lay hands on him, right? Like he walked away from that spot on Tuesday night.
Well, Takeshita is technically his old partner too. They're all
there you go.
Don Callis family.
I mean, it's possible. It's possible, but I do not think Ospreay's losing this match. No, Kyle didn't turn on him, right? Fletcher didn't turn on him, right? He walked away because he didn't want any part of it. But to me, that's not turning on him. That's him saying, I'm washing my hands of this. Fernando says, oh, I see what you're saying, Ray. My apologies. And it says Fletcher's going to turn. Maybe you guys will be right. I kind of feel like it's I'll try not to rant. I feel like there's a lot of this happening in pro wrestling right now where it's like you see heel turns coming, and like the thing with Xavier Woods, and I'm like, all right, I get it. Just freaking turn. And I'm okay if stuff plays out. I'm not trying to be that guy. But at some point, I'm like, he's even wearing all black now. Oh, my God. Just turn, right? I don't know. To me, it's on the nose a little bit too much with some of these turns, man.
Well, I mean, the other thing is there a reason to take the belt off Will Ospreay, even if you do get that turn? What is the point of taking the belt off Will Ospreay? Who are you going to put it on? Ricochet for no reason? I'm assuming. Like, what is the plan? Wouldn't the better plan be that Ospreay retains here, and then Kyle Fletcher turns on him to set up Ospreay's next title match? If you were gonna do that, wouldn't that make a little more sense? But I'm not saying that's impossible, that Fletcher's not going to turn on him at some point. Just I don't know that I would necessarily do it here, because you could build that up into a few. If it was me, if I was booking it,
sure.
Now that being said, that very well could happen.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens. I do think this match is going to be very good. I agree with what you said. They were slower. If people didn't have anything to compare that match to from previous, I don't know if there would be that much heartburn over it. But like, look, I've been having heartburn over the Lucha Pass for 10 years. I freaking hate it. To me, I think the Lucha Pass is worse than the Irish Whip. They're and I don't want to sound like the 90-year-old because there was at one point in time the Irish Whip was killing the business, right? So I don't think the Lucha Pass is much better, but I'm not going to get burnt out of shape or burnt out over it. It's fine. But I do think this match is going to be excellent. I really do. I'm very much looking forward to it.
I think the disappointment more came with the fact that Ospreay has had so many good matches since coming to AEW. That's not that. To see that Ricochet match kind of points out very much what Ospreay was like 4 or 5 years ago. Like I said, in the way that he used to wrestle versus now, because I think he's a completely different performer now than he was then, when him and Ricochet had that magic moment before Ricochet moved on to NXT.
Yeah, good point. And Ricochet's had how many years in that company and working that schedule and getting not beaten up, but you know what I mean? His body, he's got some more miles on him than he did when he first got there. And, that, like, to your point, man, all that stuff makes an impact, dude, every time.
It's also, they even tried to do some of the same spots from that. And even back when that match was popular, there were a good amount of people that did not like that match. If you like traditional wrestling, that is definitely not going to be for you. Not necessarily my cup of tea, but I didn't lose my mind over it like a lot of other people did at the time.
I didn't care about it a whole lot either, if I'm being fully transparent, because I'm not going to run from, I'm on audio. I'm recorded. If I say I loved it, people go, oh, I didn't know what you said back then. And that's fine. I wasn't in love with it then, but as you know, I think you and I have said this off mic before. I like to evolve my opinions, man. Like, I was the guy that said Orange Cassidy was, what am I watching? And I'm completely did a 180 on that guy. And I'm the first one to say, I don't want to have the same, if I had the same opinions today I had 10 years ago, I feel like I'm not moving forward. Like, so I'm perfectly open to being wrong. Honestly, I have no problem with that.
Either that or the wrestler's stuck in the same spot, which might be the case of Ricochet as far as evolving.
Oh, good point. Yeah, good point. It reminds me of Randy Orton at one point was talking about. Remember when Randy did that spot off the top rope?
Yeah, if Orange Cassidy didn't, like, Orange Cassidy grew a lot throughout AEW, right? If he does it, your opinion would still be valid from when you didn't like him to begin with.
Sure. Well, I just remember Randy Orton talking about, the young Randy Orton just come off top rope all the time until somebody got a hold of him and said, you got to stop doing that. And it's like, why? It's like, because you need to save your body. This is about, I know you like those big spots off the top, but you're going to end up paying for that later. And so, the young guys wanted to be flash and all sizzle and stuff. And everyone learned eventually, I shouldn't, if I want a long career, I shouldn't be doing that. So, maybe Orton's the wrong example to pick, because you could make the case of why he's still wrestling, but I won't. So it's fine.
I just always assumed Cowboy Bob was just yelling at him. Heels don't go off the top. That sounds like something.
I'm just saying, you might break an arm. If you get that joke, good on you. What's up, E? Good to see you, my friend. Ray says, or Kyle helps Will and turns on Don. I'm okay with that too. I like Fletcher a lot. I don't think, and Mark Davis is coming back eventually, we assume, unless there's something that happened we don't know about. I mean, honestly, do you even put those guys back together as Aussie Open? How do you do it now? Fletcher's his own man now, dude.
That's true.
This
is a weird one because I don't really see any of these titles changing hands looking at this card. This is kind of just like I said, this is kind of not the best pay-per-view card I've seen from AEW. I
see one changing. We'll get there. The Young Bucks, Matthew and Nicholas, to you kids, versus Private Party. I love Private Party. By the way, if you've not heard their latest song, it is freaking awesome. Have you heard it?
I have. It's pretty good. Honestly,
it's so good. Like, and I've written about this stuff for 10 years and have been a fan and worked in wrestling on a very, very small level. When I saw that video, I'm telling you, you know what I thought? Stars. These guys are freaking stars. That's the power, Chris, of presentation. Not that they're not good already. They are stars. All right. But if I didn't know them, if I'd never seen them before, and someone said, Tom, here's a tag team. From judging that video, I'd go, these guys are stars, man. Like, I'd love the idea of AEW getting behind them and them and the Bucks having a lengthy feud. I don't think it's going to happen. Hope I'm wrong. I believe they should take the belts off Matt and Nick. Don't think they're going to. What's your thoughts?
Private Party is kind of a weird one because they've had so much start and stop due to injury and other things. I don't see them losing the belts. I don't see the Bucks losing the belts because I still think that they're building kind of the belt collecting faction versus Omega whenever he comes back and whatever group he puts together. I've kind of been sticking with it. I've been sticking to that theory for a while, and so far it has proven true. So we will see. That's the same. I mean, that kind of goes in the same hand as the Jack Perry thing.
They did turn down Stokely on Tuesday. Stokely offered his services, and they said no. And they made a point on that promo to say, you know, people still trying to help us out. We don't need anybody. We're doing this on our own. I'm like, oh, please stick to that. That'd be great. So, yeah, I don't know. We've got the chat saying that Bucks are going to win. I think they will too. I don't think there's enough of a build here, but I'm not going to lose sleep over it. I promised y'all last week I'm changing my philosophy on this company. And part of that is learning to be okay with the things I can't control. My therapist tells me that, Chris, for God's sake. So
I'll put all the anger out there for you.
Do it.
I mean, there's, kind of zero build between in this match. But once again, this comes from more of, they don't need to do this many pay-per-views this close together. It makes it impossible to build cards between. We just had they have those two pay-per-views that are 2 weeks apart, right? And then coming right out of that, you have this pay-per-view. So any kind of storytelling, you almost have to go the WWE route of having one pay-per-view somewhere mean absolutely nothing, just to build story to the next, which happens with the pay-per-views like Bad Blood or whatever, or Judgment Day back in the day. You always have your C-level pay-per-views. I would almost say pull that pay-per-view that happens right after
Oh, I think you froze on us, Chris.
or one of those two pay-per-views.
Yep. You froze on us just a little bit there, but hey man, that's tech. That's what happens.
Just saying, I think they should have pulled one of those pay-per-views out so that they don't have that one that's just 2 weeks later.
I do think
there's a wrench in what they're trying to do.
I do think there's stakes in one match on this card, and that's it. I don't see stakes on any other match. To your point, this is a let me breathe pay-per-view, I suppose, because every other pay-per-view they run there's circumstances and chaos, and if you don't win tonight, well, brother, let me tell you something. So I think there's only one match here that's got that. But,
exactly what Jeff said in chat. WWE Fastlane. That's into those kind of transitional pay-per-views.
Great comparison. Yeah,
I don't know that AEW needs them. In fact, I think it will hurt their overall pay-per-view business if they continue to do that kind of thing, because they're actually still a pay for this pay-per-view company as opposed to WWE, which is if you have Peacock or whatever, you're going to get that thing for free.
Well, kids, we've got 5 matches left to talk about in this card. But before we do that, everybody take a break, get a sip of water, and check this out.
Boink Studios is the home of Tom Clark's main event, Tom Clark's 6M podcast, and Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast. Visit the site today for links to every podcast platform, social media, special announcements, and a lot more. Check out the site and bookmark today, boinkstudios.com.
One of these days, I'm going to come back from that break with a bowl of, lo mein with chopsticks and just be like that, right? That's what I really want to do. So, kids, boinkstudios.com, BOINK, boinkstudios.com. If you will, please and thank you, go visit that website. Bookmark it for me, if you will. I built that whole thing from top to bottom. It's not the prettiest thing you've ever seen, but it gets the job done. It's kind of like me. Actually, I'm just kidding. I am the prettiest thing you ever saw, and I still get the job done. Hey, look out. But go check it out. All the links to all the shows that from Boink Studios is there, including links to the podcast folks that I work with, including Chris. When the Patton Report goes live, I'm going to put that link on the website. There you go. So, do we have a timetable? I'm putting you on the spot. Is it a month? Is it 2025? What are we looking at?
Hopefully by December, for sure. So
Christmas present.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get the first episode. Just spoiler alert, will be about Metal Gear / Metal Gear Solid in that franchise. So if you're into video games, it'll be a good one. We're going over all of the lore, and I will be ranking those games in Chris Patton's opinion of which one is best to which one is worse.
I don't know a whole lot about that franchise, but I'll absolutely take a listen to that. Video and audio, or just audio?
Right now, the plan is video and audio, so
Okay.
and possibly some gameplay footage that I'm going to try to record. So this one's taking a little more time to put together than an average podcast. Also waiting on some artwork for the website. So there's a few things, but the first episode is written and minus the video game footage, the actual collection of footage, which will include footage from Metal Gear on Nintendo, as well as some Metal Gear Solid 2 all on PlayStation, and so on and so forth.
Nice.
So it's going to take a little more time to put together than probably after I get through this endeavor. It'll probably be the hardest one I've done, honestly, because I doubt I'll want to do all that again. But we will see. If people like it, then maybe.
Well, keep your eyes open for that, kids. The Patton Report. As soon as that sucker goes live, we'll push it here on our channels, and we'll push it on boinkstudios.com as well. Everybody, please go and support Chris. Toby, I was putting your comments up. Pay-per-view of the month, every other month would be perfect. That's what they were doing, right, for a while. Sometimes there was 2 to 3 months in between. He says, for the record, I was one of the lonely 300K. Look, I'm not on AEW's payroll. I'm not gonna make excuses for anybody. People can hate all they want. Not you, Toby, or whoever. I don't care. But like, they were on a different night. A lot of this country is still recovering and have no power. Believe it or not. Just spoke to someone yesterday. Said they just got their power back yesterday, and it's almost 2 weeks after the fact. So, Chris, I firmly believe a lot of that has a lot to do with how that rating was affected. And also, it was head-to-head with NXT that night. Also, other things are going on TV. Again, I'm not making apologies for anybody, but we all know that they've been slipping in ratings over the past calendar year. And hopefully that'll pick up, because we need pro wrestling to be successful, kids. And we need it to be here for a good long time. If you're a fan of it, you should want it to be here for a good long time. So there you go. Let's talk about the AEW Women's World. Go ahead.
I was just going to follow up on those ratings. I agree with you. Anytime a show moves nights, it's going to lose 200,000 viewers. That's proven time and time again. Anytime SmackDown would move from Fox to FX, etc., you will see that. That's a common trend. Not making excuses, because their ratings are just down overall, which points to staleness in the product and the fact that they haven't built a breakout star. They had MJF. He went out with injury. They haven't really had anyone fill the role. They need to find their Austin or their Roman Reigns or their John Cena. They got to get there somehow.
Everyone's heel, with the exception of Ospreay. Everyone's heel. I mean,
that doesn't help.
Doesn't help. It doesn't help. It's absolutely freaking ridiculous. But again, not going to lose sleep over it. Danielson, Ospreay, a handful of other folks. And Toby, I get you, my friend. No, it's all good. By the way, Toby, I love that freaking picture. Toby got some Halloween theme happening here. Yeah.
That's why I thought there was a little bit of juice behind pushing Darby Allin, because I think he is someone that can kind of transition into other forms of media, such as like ESPN. You could have him doing stuff with X Games, etc. Someone that can kind of be more of a face of the company, who is kind of well beloved and has been a consistent babyface throughout. But it's very hard to find that guy. There's been many companies that have never found that guy, right? So you finding your Steve Austin is easier said than done.
I mean, Bill Watts never could replace Junkyard Dog. He tried like crazy, couldn't do it. You know what I mean? Like, so you're right. Sometimes you just can't find the guy. You try and you keep throwing darts at the board. You miss the dart board, and hit the wall. Like you're trying, but it's not working.
Unfortunately, this company, the guy was Kenny Omega, and until he comes back, I think that when he comes back as a babyface, that might be the thing that will push those ratings back forward.
We'll see if he's babyface. I don't know. Like, again, I don't want to get too wrapped up in it. And this is not Chris talking or you kids talking. It's Tom talking. I don't want to let myself get too wrapped up in the heel and face thing because it's absolute chaos, in my opinion. But like I said before, like I said last week, it is what it is. We had faces and heels saying things on Dynamite on Tuesday. I'm like, what did you just say? Like, oh my God, my head hurts. But again, as I said to you this morning, Chris, I'm trying to deal with this. I'm doing the best I can.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way that there's no one that they can just instantly flip a script and they're not going to be competing with WWE like next week, even if they let's say get a Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, that's not going to boost them, in the millions of viewership. It's going to be a long process for this company. But they do need a top. Right now, I mean, Danielson is kind of a known commodity, but outside of that, they don't have a top babyface that they've built.
You're right. Toby, hold your thought about Jay. I got a thought on Jay. I want to save it till we get to that match. AEW Women's World Championship, Mariah May defending against Willow Nightingale. Suddenly, for whatever reason, that women's match happened on Tuesday, and it all got weird. I don't really know why. And then Willow, I like Willow a lot, but she ends up with the title shot here. It's fine. I do not see Willow beating her here. I think that, Chris, maybe I'm wrong. I actually believe Toni Storm's going to be the one to take it back from Mariah May, and I think it could be next month. I don't know. Who knows? But I think maybe that's what they're waiting for. What do you think?
I tend to agree with you there. It doesn't make any sense to have Mariah drop the title so soon.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Especially without doing the rematch, right, between her and Toni. So.
Oh, sure. Ray says, is Baker sick or in trouble? I don't know that she's in trouble. And as far as being sick, all you can do is take someone at their word. But I happen to have been told stuff that I cannot share. And I hate to be like that. I'm sorry. And Maria, I want to get back to you here. Tony depends too much on the internet to push guys in matches. I disagree to a large extent. And when it comes to Tony Khan, the internet, I cannot tell you something else. Don't you, man? I don't mean to do that.
As far as Tony Khan, if Tony Khan's listening to the internet, which is going to have a higher population of WWE fans than AEW fans, then he is not listening to the internet.
He would have shut down 5 years ago. Yeah.
Or just in the way, most of the things you're going to see on the internet are going to be negative. So his booking would have eventually changed, you would think. But he's sticking to his guns on what he wants to do. And there's something to be said about that, whether I agree with it or not.
Sure. Danny, I get your point about Tony not letting Ray Phoenix go. Who knows? WWE has done that several times. They did it with FTR. They did it with, God, I don't know, lots of guys through the years where the guy was injured and they kept him to make the time up. Is it a good look for Tony Khan and AEW? I don't think so. I think the best thing to do is just cut bait and let the guy go because he obviously wants to go. But, Danny, I want you and everyone else to remember something very important. There's so much stuff behind the scenes that we just don't have any idea. And it's easy for us to love something or to hate something without really knowing what in the world caused it to be the way it is. And again, Tom's not trying to defend anybody. I'm just giving you my thoughts. That's all. Toby says Mariah should have been pushed as a megastar, but she's looked very meh. I'll do you one better, Chris, and to his point, since she's beat Tony, I don't think it's anything she's done wrong. I just don't think the booking has been there. I just don't you expected her to be this red hot heel worker after Wembley, and she has not been that. But I don't think it's through any fault of her own.
Well, I mean, it's kind of lack of star power in the women's division, right?
That's fair.
They don't need two titles. Let's start there. They don't need two singles titles in the women's division. I think it kind of creates a bottleneck that they don't necessarily need. We just watch Willow, lose, right? So as an interesting challenger, there's not even really that there. Outside of they had that match to set up this title match, there's nothing really there. I'm assuming Tony is hurt, or this would have been a rematch.
Yeah. There was something I saw that she was going to appear somewhere, and she got blocked by Hurricane Milton, so she couldn't make the trip. But I can't remember now. I'll find it here in a second. She couldn't make the trip. But honestly, I think she was just taking time off.
Yeah, I mean that goes back to this is a kind of a meh WWE B tier pay-per-view kind of thing. So I mean, Willow's here just to take a loss. Hopefully the match will be really good, though. I think both Mariah May and Willow are both great in the ring, so
I think they'll do
fun match.
I agree. I think they'll do very well. Speaking of Jay White, let's talk about Hangman Adam Page versus Jay White. You know, Jay White came back, was it last week or week before? I think last week, and got on to Adam Page, and that crowd lost their mind. And the Guns are working to get a pop, and Juice is fun no matter what he's supposed to be. And I didn't see it Tuesday, but after Jay's match on Tuesday, he worked a local guy. Jay's in the ring, or Juice is in the ring on all fours and cocked his leg up like a dog over the guy that was laying there. I freaking love Juice Robinson. He is such a highlight for me. Bullet Club Gold's heel, kids. And again, don't get too wrapped up in the words. Jay White is not going to be a top babyface. Could he be? 100%. But Chris, he is so good at being sinister. He's so good at being, you know, the switchblade, the double cross thing, and sneak attack. And, you know, you remember his matches in New Japan, Chris, like he'd spend the first 5 minutes of the match walking around the ring just to get heat. And could he be a top face? 100%. Is he going to be? I do not believe he is, but I could be wrong. What do you think about him versus Adam Page on this show?
I mean, I think Adam Page should win handedly here, right? Just for their future plans. Unfortunately for Jay White, I've been less interested in him since coming to AEW than I have been since he left New Japan. Even his TNA run, I would consider better than his AEW run. That's not necessarily on him. Some of that's, I mean, like him basically losing to a crippled MJF did not help his case. Being stuck in trios matches did not help his case. In fact, if you're going to pick someone to break out as a babyface from that group, it would be Juice, not Jay. Especially based on crowd reaction. If you're going off crowd reaction alone, the people in the building, Juice would come off as a better babyface. Jay White also, they kind of tried to do that babyface experiment in New Japan after Kenny Omega left, and I don't remember that going very well.
He looks like a villain straight out of a film, doesn't he? He just looks, the accent, the hair, everything about him just screams this is the sinister villain of this movie. So yeah, I don't know, man. And I didn't want to forget that, kids, because I think Toby mentioned it earlier, but yeah, in my opinion, Jay could be whatever Jay wants to be, and with the right booking could be whatever they want him to be, because he's that freaking good. But I just don't, maybe I'll be wrong. I just don't think it's going to happen there. And I think Paige is going to beat him too, but I don't think it's going to be lopsided. I think it's going to be very, very close. My opinion. I don't know. We'll see.
Just in response to hard, I don't consider what he had as a babyface run. Like MJF's run as a babyface, I don't consider a babyface run.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Fernando says Tony needs to push Jay White better than he did before. He got injured. The Jay White and MJF bill was trash. Yeah. Maria says Tony Khan doesn't understand the Jay White game. I don't know about he doesn't understand. I just don't. Again, they've got plans in place, or they don't, behind the scenes that we're not privy to. And Jay, Chris, if nothing else, Jay's a professional. If you've ever heard him on a podcast outside of character, these guys are what you need, boss. Let's do this. And that's how you should be in the business, right? Like there is a moment you speak up for yourself, but Chris, I don't think anything offensive has happened to Jay since he's been there. I just like his booking. I just don't. Could he look? Jay's awesome because he could be elevated to the world title like that next week, and nobody would blink an eye because he's so good in the ring and on the mic. They're just not lifting him to that status, man.
I mean, you could say that about a lot of people on this roster, right?
Yeah.
There's only so much room at the top.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
Especially when your natural tendency is to be a heel and 80% of the company is heel.
Maria says Jay should get pushed like a main eventer instead of talent like Orange Cat. Well, that's opinion, Maria. I mean, I respect your opinion, but that's opinion. That's Orange has put his time in. Orange has, and at least from my chair, it looks like Orange is a yes sir, no sir kind of guy, and does everything and has gotten himself over. Garcia, no disrespect to Garcia, he was put in that Jericho stable, and I don't think that was a great move. But at any given time, Chris, was he blowing anybody away on the mic? In my opinion, no. Could he? Sure, but I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Jay's great in all those areas. To your point, Maria, Jay could do everything, but I don't know.
I mean, the thing about being pushed as a main eventer with Orange Cassidy gets a reaction. Jay White's not getting a reaction right now. Judge it by the building, right? So judge it by what you actually hear. What is the crowd's reaction? He's not getting a big heel reaction. You know, Orange Cassidy gets a reaction whether you like him or not.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta push who's getting a reaction. If you're pushing people that aren't getting a reaction for long periods of time, you're not going to be very successful.
Yeah, because the people who aren't getting a great crowd reaction, you can work with those folks and help them get there, hopefully. But that's not necessarily the guy you put out there as your main event star on day one, because it doesn't, like you said, if there's no connection, dude, then what are we talking about, you know? So this match we probably could have covered on the pre-show. I assume this will be on the pre-show. I love this because it doesn't mean anything to anybody. But MXM Collection versus the Acclaimed, Mansoor and Mason Madden. I cannot believe how much I love this team. It's ridiculous. By the way, no Outrunners on this card. I got a bone to pick with Mr. Khan. Are you kidding me? I mean, I'm glad we got MXM. Don't get me wrong. But I'm waiting for the MXM versus Outrunners feud that's going to take over the planet. That's what I'm here for. But, Chris, I love those freaking guys. I don't care who wins. Doesn't matter to me. MXM should win, by the way. But I don't know what's going to happen. Chris, this is a throwaway match. Doesn't matter. It's fine. I'm here for MXM, dude. I think they are a breath of fresh air. I think every time they're on the card, people are standing up and taking notice. And even on a roster that sick with talent, that full of people, they managed to turn people's heads. And I think that's very impressive.
Yeah, I like that they kind of took their gimmick from WWE and then turned it up like to 11, you know, like made it way more over the top. It's really working for them. And they were kind of doing that on Twitch and other video platforms even before this contract deal. So as for the tag division in AEW, they definitely are a breath of fresh air. So I hope they get a win here and continue on the path of righteousness. Right now, there is a stopgap called the Young Bucks. So we will see. And I don't mean that as the Young Bucks are politicking or anything like that. I think the storyline does tie back to Kenny Omega coming back at some point with Kenny and Okada and what they're trying to do. I wanted to clarify that before people, he hates the Bucks. That's not what I was saying. I don't think the Bucks are saying, you know, keep everyone else under our thumb. I just think that there's plans that are out there.
I agree. Maria says, I'm surprised WWE let them. I don't think WWE had a say so in it because the name is different. And, you know, you can change your working name or whatever, but are they doing the same shtick? Yeah. But like you said, Chris, they turned it up a notch. I mean, you know, a lot of it depends on if you own your name and whatnot, but I think it's fine that they're still doing it.
Yeah, there's not much they can say because they changed the name, and the male model gimmick in general in professional wrestling has been around since like the 70s. So
true, all the way back to Gorgeous George. If you want to go back that far, right?
The 40s. Then we're taking it.
Yeah.
Taking it way back.
Maria, I understand where you're coming from. We've seen it before. They blocked, Dudley Boys became Team 3D because reasons. Here's our tag team name. We've had it since ECW. Cool, you can't take it. I mean, I know it was a lot more intense than that, but I'm like, come on. You know what I mean? What are we doing? It's fine. So someone asked me about Hologram earlier. Hologram versus the Beast Mortos in a 2 out of 3 falls match. Again, for reasons that I can't quite explain. Mortos can do stuff, Chris, that a man his size oughtn't be able to do. And holy God, can he do them very well. And, it reminds me of the Cage discussion from earlier where Cage is doing those topes and stuff. And Mortis just seems to have an element of control in his movements that a guy his size should not have. He should be falling and stuff. And, oh, he missed the spot. But, man, he's so freaking good. I mean, and as far as Hologram goes, no disrespect to Hologram. The Hologram, Commander, and a couple other guys, no disrespect, but it kind of feels like you could switch the mask, and I don't know if anybody would notice. And I guess that sounds very disrespectful, but and I don't mean it to. What do you think about this match, though?
I mean, Hologram's a Tony Khan pet project. I mean, that's been well known, right? So he's going to be there for a while. But the Beast Mortos is got a different vibe to him.
Yeah.
Cool look. That helps. But yeah, like you said, it's he's doing kind of things that you wouldn't expect him to do. A 2 out of 3 falls match, assuming, that pretty much means they're going to a third fall. Do you do the third fall time limit draw?
I mean, that's a good question. Will it go to a third fall?
Because if the Beast Mortos loses, I feel like the crowd's going to turn right before your main event. If it's in the order that this is listed as.
Danny says Beast Mortos and AAA and Impact was known as Toros. Yeah. And that could be a thing, Danny, where, and I'm not speaking from knowledge because I don't know the answer to this, but it could be that name is AAA and he couldn't take it with him, but because of a deal with Impact, he could, but he can't use it in AEW. I have no idea. But I think it is a good idea to brand yourself, and it is a variation of his name.
Well, so, I mean, that happens with AAA, like Pentagon, for instance, where it has had multiple names throughout multiple companies. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case.
What do you think about Maria's claim here that Beast Mortos is the second coming of Bam Bam Bigelow?
Yeah, I'm sure. Bam Bam's so different. Like the bigger guys now, they do so much more than Bam Bam Bigelow. Bam Bam Bigelow is different. I'm trying to figure out the best way to explain. Go watch a couple of Bam Bam Bigelow matches and watch how much he just bumps for other people. Yeah. Before he really does anything. And it's more about the aggression in his facial expressions than his actual in-ring work. I know he's known as a high flyer because he does a moonsault, but just keep in mind that Vader used to do a moonsault. So it's, a lot of people get these comparisons when you have a big guy that can move in the ring, but Bam Bam's kind of, I put Bam Bam on a different tier than a lot of other big people just because of how well he works with, like watch him versus Shawn Michaels, for instance.
Bam Bam was one of a kind, dude. He moved with an element of grace, which is the weirdest word to use for a super heavyweight, but he absolutely had it, Chris. It was, man, crazy how athletic that guy was just off the charts. I think his stuff still holds up, man.
It does. And also it's one of those things where just watch him hit the ropes.
Yeah. Moving with confidence, hitting with authority. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. And look, if you want to impress any veteran, if you're a young guy, if you're a young guy out there and you want to impress a veteran, you need to attack that mat like it owes you money. Because, brother, that will get, I'm telling you, I've been a part of conversations where it's like, what do you think? He moves like he's walking on glass. We can't use him. So, I mean, it makes a difference, Chris. How much are you moving with authority? Are you moving with confidence? Do you have a sense of purpose? Do you have a sense of urgency? Are you moving as if you know where you're going to be? You have a destination. You're getting there. I mean, That does make a lot of difference, man.
Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, I think the Beast Mortos should win this match. I don't necessarily know that's going to happen because it's kind of been well known that Hologram is a pet project. So we will see.
They put Mordos and Roosh and someone else, kids. Remind me who it is. They put him with Jake the Snake Roberts on Tuesday. So we'll see. Because Dawn Callis now has Lance Archer in the family.
Is that just setting up some kind of trios triple A versus whatever Jake the Snake's crew is going to be, though? Like, that's the.
Well, from what I understand, you're a big trios guy. So maybe it's just there to make you happy. I don't know.
Love trios.
One match left, kids, then we're taking it home. Bryan Danielson defended the AEW World Championship against John by God Moxley with Marina Shafir. Bryan Danielson, kids, you remember good old Bryan Danielson? He's beat all the crap and being held together by, toothpicks and duct tape and shoestrings, and his full-time career is over. No, it's not. He's never going to wrestle again. Oh, yeah, he'll wrestle part-time. Well, no, he's not, because this is on the line. Oh, wait a minute. And next time he loses, he's gone forever. Well, no, he's not. He's not gone forever. He's going to come back. But is he? I don't know. This whole thing, again, this is Tom, not Chris or anyone else. Everybody relax. And this comes from nobody else but Tom. This whole thing is half-cocked. I don't understand it. I don't guess I need to, and it's fine. And I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it, if I'm being honest with you. I don't get this. Mox keeps cutting these weird promos that you don't understand. Something's coming. Something's coming. Phil and I have a difference of opinion on what that is. I believe something's coming. I'm not going to sit here and say, Chris, that it's Shane McMahon. I won't say it, but I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not Shane McMahon. I think something's coming, and I don't know why it would be, but it feels like they're teasing the life out of something, that something big is on the horizon. I think Mox is winning the belt, but I could be wrong. What you think?
I don't think unless you're just trying to get a riot going, I don't think there's a single way in hell they're going to have Bryan Danielson drop the belt in Tacoma.
That seems like a WWE thing to do, doesn't it?
I don't see it. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but yeah, I'm going to go with Mox. I'm going to go with Bryan Danielson on this one.
Maria says Yuta is going to turn on Bryan and cost him the championship and his career. I guess, Maria, I'm okay with that. But, if we're looking ahead, Chris, other than Wheeler being able to come out and say, I took Bryan Danielson out of the game, there's no reason to do that, is there?
No, not really. I think that you just get a rematch of this at like Wrestle Kingdom in Japan. That's where Danielson wanted to finish it out. So why not just hold the belt till then?
Jumpin' Jeff Sharma says, since you're talking about Shane, what's your take on the rumors of Vince is behind him being there? Personally, I think here's my take. No. Yeah, that's my take. In other words,
Hot garbage.
No chance. And I never say never, Chris, but come on.
Vince has absolutely no vested interest in the WWE at this point. So what would be the point of him sending a spy to AEW? That's what's being insinuated here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Vince he doesn't even have controlling interest in WWE stock anymore. He's pretty much sold all of that off, readying up for this court case, which I don't want to get into, but that's, there's that. So, that I think would eliminate that. I don't think this is going to be Shane McMahon. Maybe it's Scott D'Amore. Maybe that's the big surprise.
Scott D'Amore is starting up Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling in Canada now,
which looks like it could be pretty good. I'm excited to see what that's going to be and what that's going to look like.
I heard him on Jericho's podcast. He is such a well-spoken individual, and yeah, I'll tell you off mic what I really. I'm not trying to be like that. I just don't. I don't have the need to throw stones because I don't have any stones to throw. I'm good. I have random thoughts that don't really need to be aired. It's fine, but I don't dislike the guy at all. I think he's a really smart dude.
I think it's very interesting to start an all Canadian based pro wrestling company in 2024. Let's see how that works. Billy Corgan's still out here, so it can't be any worse than what NWA's been doing.
I was gonna say, when you got a dude like freaking the formerly known as Brodus Clay on your roster, and you're proud of that. All right, well, all right. So that's all I'm saying.
Eric Bischoff would be really, really funny, especially with the back and forth between him and Tony Khan. If they actually were able to pay him to be a performer, that would be phenomenal. That'd be great. Because Eric Bischoff, as an on-screen character, Eric Bischoff would be really good for what they're trying to do with potentially setting up, the elite and Tony versus whatever Moxley is doing. That could be very interesting.
I got another one for you. What if the whole thing with him and Khan having heats of work and has been for a year?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Seems like Eric Bischoff would have messed that up somehow, but
you would think so. Good comeback. Yeah,
it's Vince Russo.
Oh God, bro. Yeah, Jesus. No, thank you.
I don't know. Bischoff seems to be getting paid well for just showing up in documentaries and from his house in Wyoming. So
yeah.
maybe he'll just continue down that path. But
he's going to end up like Cornette, where he just hates everything. So.
Cornette would be the biggest surprise, right? But that's not going to happen either. I don't know.
I don't need to see either guy on TV. I just don't. That's me.
Yeah, Bischoff, or I don't know. Bischoff could be entertaining.
Well, sure, but again, if we're following our stream of consciousness since we started here today, what is the point? What is the reason, without knowing long-term booking, because we don't know, what's the reason for bringing in a Bischoff or a McMahon or anyone? What if it's ratings? Well, they might pop in the beginning. Are they going to pop for the next 5 years? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know, dude.
The entire thing seems like NWO, right? Like they're doing an NWO storyline. So Bischoff would actually, as far as that,
in other words, he'd fit. Yeah, I get it.
Maybe it's Hogan, brother.
Oh God, someone said that. Fernando said it. If it's Hogan and Easy, I'm turning off my TV. I'll tell you that right now.
It's Rodzilla, baby.
Rodzilla. Yeah.
No, I don't. Is it going to make a huge? That's the key. Is it going to make a big difference long term?
No.
Bischoff, I think, is a fun on-screen character. If you have to absolutely go with this an NWO type storyline, but the problem with that, right, and the big surprise that is coming, is that you have Hangman, who's working, I guess, as a babyface right now. The Young Bucks are definitely heel. Tony Khan and the Young Bucks technically don't like each other. So how do you build the storyline? Let's say Moxley dispatches Danielson tonight, then who's left to fight them? Because AEW in itself is fractured. This is kind of what happened, and part of the problem with why the NWO failed is because there was no real opposition after they, had Sting get screwed basically with the whole Bret Hart finish after that year's build up. So you have to be very careful of how you go about working these storylines. And right now they're not even set up to do that. No,
right now they do. Again, I hate the term hot shot booking, but I don't have a better word for it. They do hot shot booking. They do very, very quick things that make absolutely no sense. Even if you're using Tom's template of none of this stuff matters because it's not a pro wrestling company. It's a pro wrestling brand with independent wrestlers in the locker room. And I say that with no disrespect intended to anybody in that locker room. I love that locker room. But, even if you're using that template, things they do make zero sense. It just doesn't make any sense. It's fine. It's fine. Danny says, whatever happened to Bandito? He got injured, didn't he? I think. Or am I wrong?
I can do a fact check on Bandito as you look at chat.
Yeah. Fernando says, I got it. It's Bully Ray. Just kidding. You better be just kidding. Freaking Bully Ray.
Bandito, yes, he broke his wrist in 2023. Let's see. Here's an update on his status. He required more surgery back in April because the first injury did not heal. So I'm assuming that he is still injured.
Wow.
Unfortunately, I like Bandito, so that is unfortunate.
I do too. Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, kids. Someone mentioned Bully Ray. So.
Hot garbage.
Sorry.
Not a fan of Bully Ray, huh?
Well, when you're so obviously in the pocket for a company, I just don't.
Oh, you're talking about his Sirius show or whatever.
Well, he's just anti everything but WWE. That's what just kills me. Like he has something to say, and he's a Hall of Famer for whatever that's worth to you. It's fine. It's fine. I don't need to agree with anybody or disagree with anybody. It's just me talking. But
yeah, he was very positive Ring of Honor when they were giving him a paycheck, and then
oh sure, yeah, and now and the way, man, when you hear him talk, it's like, wow, this guy was a multiple-time world champion and headlined Madison Square Garden and toured all over the world and was the man. Oh wait, no, he wasn't. Interesting. I don't know. Again, I have no reason to be salty against anybody. It just that's the way it comes off sometimes. I'm like, well, you're entitled to say whatever you want to say. But we did see, talking about people being in someone's pocket. Booker T came out this week and defended Triple H against the "I don't see color" comment. Like, tell me you're in the pocket of WWE without telling me you're in the pocket of WWE. Like, holy good God, dude, have some self-respect here at some point. My goodness.
Booker T has had a history of defending people that necessarily shouldn't be defended with comments like that.
100%. Yeah, I hope someone brings that up, and please, someone bring that up, because right now that floor is open. I want somebody to bring it up. We ain't gonna stay here all day here, kids. Floor is up. I'm waiting on Ray's comment for somebody to bring up that Triple H comment. It's my show. I could just bring it up. How about that? I don't see color. 5 pay-per-views in a row without an African-American talent to be seen. Like, again, your company leans heavily one way politically. Everyone knows that. A lot of your guys do, and we kind of know you do too, and so did the old man's family. All right, and then you're going to hit me with "I don't see color." Chris, we should see color. Yeah, because color, in my opinion, is about respecting an individual. It's when you see color and it makes a difference how you look at that person. That's the problem. The problem is not that you see color. The problem is that you judge that person based on that color. That maybe should have been the comment, but what do I know?
Yeah, there's definitely better ways to try to get across the point I think he was trying to get across. I agree with you, Tom. Everything you said, I agree with.
Yeah. Ray says, here we go, kids. Chub Rock or Heavy D? Chub Rock's career was not very long from what I can recall. Made some good stuff, but I'll say Heavy D. Part 2, Lost Boys or Digital Underground? I'll go Digital Underground. And if Adam Cole invited you and your family to a Halloween party in which there were delicious pumpkin spice drinks and great music, could I join you? Yes. Later want to get dinner, which include, if you don't get off this grilled chicken, Ray, you got to hit me with a cheeseburger at some point. A mixed salad and a cold glass of lemonade plus one small slice of... You could have a bigger slice of apple pie, Ray. You've already had a grilled chicken and a salad. I think you do a little bit a bigger slice of the pie. The answer is yes. So.
Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna go Heavy D, Digital Underground. Yes, and yeah, of course.
Of course. Of course.
Ray, I'm gonna be up near your neck of the woods here soon, hopefully, to see a couple Devils games. So I'll be up in the Newark area, hopefully. Fingers crossed, at least.
Danny says both companies have that issue. Talking about race, I completely, vehemently disagree with you, Danny. And Danny, I don't need to be throwing hands at anybody like we had last week. I completely disagree with you. It's okay to have your different opinions. It's fine. Let's see. Did I see Joker 2? I have no desire to see Joker 2. I made that clear. Chris, you care anything about that flick? Have you seen it?
I have not seen it. I do want to see it.
Hmm.
It may be a case of curiosity kills the cat, but I'm curious on what a Joaquin Phoenix dream turned into a musical movie about the Joker is.
Yeah, yeah. If you know Mark Bernardin, that podcast with Kevin Smith, Mark always gives very level-headed takes, and he comes at it from a writer's perspective. I listened to his review yesterday, and it's Mark never bashes anybody, neither does Kevin. And his review was very well thought, well spoken, and just didn't bash anybody. So I mean, I wasn't going to watch it. I wasn't in love with the first one. The first one was a little unsettling to me personally. It's just the way it hit me. It's a darker flick, man. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's not the normal comic book flick for sure. It is more of like a thriller drama type film. I liked the first film a lot. I don't know that I'll like this one, but I'm gonna watch it. I don't know when. I'm not gonna pay to watch it, so whenever it shows up somewhere where I can watch it for free, I'll probably check it out.
Gotcha. Yeah. Danny says it's all good, but look at how AEW booked Swerve when he was champion. Swerve had some quality wins as world champion. And look, I don't want to get into a contest with you here, but let's look at how Pro Wrestling Company books African American world champion. Let's talk about it. You want to do it? Let's do it. Let's talk about what happened to Kofi. Let's talk about what happened to Big E. Let's talk about it. I don't know, man. Like, what are we talking about here, really?
I mean, one of the biggest ones, right, is funny because he's the guy that kind of stood up for Triple H, would be the treatment of Booker T.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And Danny, in my opinion, I don't know how you feel, I think Swerve is a much bigger star today than he was before he won that title. That's how I feel.
I wasn't in love with the way they booked Swerve after that title victory, and we kind of talked about that on previous shows. But I don't. Yeah. They're in a weird situation because Samoa Joe went off to film. That kind of, I think, hurt some of the ways that they may have booked that going forward. And then Hangman was gone as well. He took that time off, which the original storyline was that he was never going to let Swerve win that title, even if it killed him. So
exactly,
the storyline itself shifted, which plans change.
Yeah.
And like you said, he had quality wins, and he dropped the belt to Bryan Danielson on Bryan Danielson's last run in what was basically like a 60-minute, 5-star match. So there's worse ways to treat your Kofi would be a good example of things not to do.
Yeah. And then you let the same guy do it to his partner. Like, that's kind of a problem, but hey, but to Danny's credit, he did say that both companies had that issue. So I know he's not picking one over the other. Fernando says, do I believe in Joe Hendry? Hard to say that without singing it in your head, isn't it? Becoming the face of WWE. Here's what I'll tell you. Hendry is 36. So I don't know if I believe he's going to be the face of WWE someday, because someday should be like now. I don't know, man. I love Joe Hendry a lot, dude. I think this guy is I got nothing but positive things to say about him. What do you think about what kind of longevity could he have if WWE decided, hey, let's bring you in? Hard to know, right?
Yeah, it's kind of an unknown commodity. He had the run in Ring of Honor, and he's had that run in TNA. But as far as being a constant on TV, people like the song and that piece of the gimmick. But from a main event standpoint, right, how far does that take you? People also loved the 10 gimmick, for instance. How far does that take you? As far as in ring goes, he's not mind blowing or anything. So it just depends on what they do with him and how fresh they can keep I believe in Joe Hendry. It's kind of like a troll doll. Eventually, it'll wear itself out. It'll become a thing. As Hank Hill once famously said to Bobby, I don't want, you putting Jesus in this box of all the things that became unpopular that you no longer like.
Wow. What a great line to remember. I remember that episode. Gene Simmons was in that episode.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that. Chad Too Bad says, ask Chris, does Swerve join Lashley in his group? Who they say may. By the way, I am here for this MVP Shelton Benjamin stuff. I love it. At least it's planting seeds for something that's going to happen.
I wouldn't put Swerve in that group necessarily because I feel
I don't
like
think he needs them.
I don't think he needs them, and also you could take away a good potential feud that he could have with like a MVP and Nana Bobby Lashley versus Swerve. I think that could be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, I don't think he needs them.
Above that, right? Yeah, sorry, I was just saying it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but yeah, right now, as of right now, that group is just getting started, and Swerve's kind of above that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No disrespect to them, but you're totally right. Yeah. Yeah. And again, people get heartburn over weird stuff, and like, well, they have too many. Anytime I hear there's too many people, I'm like, they have too many great wrestlers. What are we talking about? Like, if you really want to be upset, you can comment on the booking. You can comment on mishandling of the various different hours of broadcasting. You can comment on not enough this, that, and the other. But I don't know. I'm not one of those guys that says they have too much talent. I just do not believe that, Chris. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not my money. I'm not worried about it. I gave up on talking about how much talent they have on the roster a long time ago. I think that if they were under a tight budget, say if this was Smoky Mountain Wrestling or something, maybe that would matter more. But with the contract they just signed and the pocket that they have above them, I don't think it's really something to be concerned about. The only part that sucks is for people that have followed a lot of these wrestlers their entire career to see them not get utilized in any meaningful way.
Yeah.
So as a fan, that kind of sucks. But as a company, if they're getting paid, they're getting paid.
Yeah. And by the way, kids, everybody, welcome to the show. Jay Luft from Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast and the Untitled Wrestling podcast. By the way, kids, Two Nations Under Ted, episode 7 from season 3 drops tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And since we've still got quite a few of you here, and before we tell Big Chris adieu and say everybody goodbye to everybody here, everybody check this out.
Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast, reviews all episodes of the Apple TV series with opinions from both sides of the Atlantic, featuring Tom Clark in the US and Jay Luft and Joe Higgins in the UK. Join them as they dive into all 3 seasons of Ted Lasso, with both video and audio versions available on boinkstudios.com.
10 a.m. Eastern, kids. Tomorrow, boinkstudios.com. You'll find all the links. Please go subscribe. We are finishing up that show in short order, and it's been a blast so far. Couple more, Chris. We're going to take it home. Danny says, what would happen to Prince Nana if Swerve did join MVP? I think Nana is so crazy awesome. And I think he could hopefully he'd be in a good spot, Chris, because I think he could get somebody over. I don't think Swerve ever needed him personally, but you have to admit, like, he added something to that act, man, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he helped indirectly turn Swerve into a babyface in a lot of ways and got the crowd behind Swerve in a way that I didn't see coming. I think, Nana could be utilized in other facets for sure. Just like Jake the Snake got brought up, and it's someone, I think someone in chat mentioned that it's kind of weird he's managing luchadors. Well, hey, sometimes that is a good thing, especially trying to get messages across to an audience. So find someone that's not good on the mic, put Prince Nana with him. It should be fine. I don't see that happening with Swerve, just because I consider him, or I would hope that company considers him a main eventer, and that group is not. They haven't done anything yet, really.
Yeah.
That group almost seems like it's destined to fight with the elite in whatever Moxley is doing.
I love Shelton. Realistically speaking, does Shelton have a lot of years left? I don't have any idea. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, we'll see.
It's so hard to tell with Shelton because he was just kind of in and out of WWE without actually being injured And then the last time I saw him before that was mostly in New Japan, like Super Juniors and G1 stuff. So short periods of time. So obviously a lot lighter schedule in AEW. Maybe he's got a lot left in the tank that we're unaware of.
That's fair. Yeah. Rob says you mentioned color throughout wrestling history, which in the past of people who no longer wrestle, which wrestlers of color do you think were never given the chance, the spotlight they should have? I mean, that's a long history, Rob. That's a good question. I mean, look, we've already mentioned them several. Booker was over. I still think Booker should have won a world title from Triple H. That's how I feel. I'll never not feel that way. Was that the world title or the WWE title, by the way, with Triple H? I can't even remember now. I think it was a world title.
Like you said, it's a long history.
Yeah.
I don't know. Thunderbolt Patterson could have been a good nod for the NWA championship.
Ooh. Love Thunderbolt Patterson. Big Cat.
One of the best promos.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Big Cat Ernie Ladd. Just saying. It's a good question, man.
I mean, in recent time, we'll see, because I think that maybe we'll get another run, but Big E specifically.
Yeah.
Both in ring work and mic work. If he's ever able to come back, hopefully they will give him a nod. But he never really got the run he deserved as a main eventer.
No. Just keep Brock out of the same locker room. God's sake. Jay says, I did plan on asking a question. Do you guys foresee any surprise returns tomorrow? And if so, who? Be great to see Kenny. I don't know if Kenny's close to even being ready. Is he? They cut a promo with Tanahashi for New Japan. Like, I don't want to vent. We're at the end of the show. I don't want to rant. But explain to me why a guy who's not been on your TV, he's your contracted wrestler, he's your guy, and I love Tana. He's cutting a promo for New Japan in Japanese. I'm so confused, Chris. Like, what is this?
It's their contract deal that they have. I mean, like, when people talk about open door policy, there's a lot more to it than that's just talked about, right? I'm sure we'll give you guys this much time. We'll bring these people over. We'll send you guys these, it's a back and forth, Tom. You know that.
Yeah.
It's very old school. I mean, it feels very much like an old territory thing, which is so weird in 2024 to say, but like the way that New Japan handles business with other companies in general, it kind of comes off that way. Like that they're kind of still in the late 70s, early 80s.
Well, but again, dude, if Kenny had been on AEW last week, fine. But they're really needing him back. And like the first shot out the gate, he's in a suit talking Japanese. What are we doing? I don't know. I mean, it just seems like you put that guy under cover glass and just keep him till he's ready. Don't let anybody see or hear from him. And then boom, biggest pop you've ever heard. I don't know.
Well, I mean, the problem here is that there's nowhere for him to show up on this pay-per-view with Kenny. I mean, there's nothing meaningful for him to do here. Yeah. If you're looking at it, unless he's going to be on Jon Moxley's side or something, which I don't know. That wouldn't be what I would do with Kenny.
Because why wouldn't you just put the title on Kenny? That's interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe more things added to this Moxley story. There's not a lot of big free agents out there or anything right now. People that are all the way out of contract.
Jay says Kenny was over there training with Coda for the AEW returns, and they had him and Tana do the promo to promote Wrestle Dynasty. Yeah, I think like with Chris, I understand. I still think it's crap. I don't know. That's me. If this were, no disrespect against Darby, if this were Darby, if this were honestly anybody else, but again, we have identified this guy as AEW's guy, and I love Mox. Mox is a heel now. You need a top face. Danielson, Chris, every time Danielson cuts a promo, is this the last promo he's ever going to cut? Is this the last time Danielson's going to point at the cameraman? Fans, this is the last time Danielson's going to chew gum on TV. Like, stop. I don't know. Again, I'm ranting.
I mean, they gave you a year deadline. They did the same thing with Sting, right? Like, I don't know. Surprise appearances. Let's see. Dory Funk, what's he doing? I heard he just wrestled a match recently. So
That's true. 84. I don't know how old he is. Oh.
maybe Dory Funk will show up in the corner of John Moxley tonight. Big surprise. I have no idea. I tend to agree with you, Tom. And I would say this about the New Japan AEW working relationship in general. I have absolutely no idea how it helps AEW other than them stealing talent once the contracts for New Japan expires. Because they're basically just sending their talent over there to potentially get injured. There's no financial benefit. They're not gaining ratings anytime, Tanahashi shows up on TV or one of these cats show up in a wrestling. 90% of Americans who watch New Japan are watching it after the fact, after these pay-per-views have already aired. They come on at like 4 a.m. here. Mm-hmm. So I just don't see that there's a big crossover there. Other than, like I said, they feel bad for stealing talent. Because even...
Yeah, I'm with you. It's a mess.
Like New Japan. Yeah, so when the idea was originally conceptualized, New Japan was trying to branch into the American market with New Japan Strong, which is kind of dead at this point. They're not putting a lot of investment in that. So it doesn't really help AEW to be doing as much with New Japan as they're currently doing.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense. Danny asked if Kota Ibushi is also injured. To my knowledge, Jay, didn't we talk about this a week or so ago with Kota? Isn't Kota like working out or something? It seemed like we talked about that recently. Sarah, what's up, Sarah? Good to see you.
Yeah, James actually commented about Kenny was training with Kota.
With Kota. Yeah. And I even said it out loud. I didn't connect it in my brain. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how far off that means Kota is, though, because he had destroyed both of his ankles.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And it wasn't against Naito. Can you believe that? So.
Well, that would have been his neck.
Well, you're right. Yeah. Jay says Kota was meant to wrestle for DDT this week and got pulled. Interesting.
I mean, what is Kota's connection with New Japan other than he was under contract because he was trying to get out of contract with New Japan when even before that injury happened, he had went to the mountainside or whatever and made all of those very negative remarks about New Japan in general after saying that was his last contract he would ever sign.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, this was 2 years back, but I do remember there being some heat between him and New Japan.
I mean, did AEW never announced him as being all elite, did they? Well, no, he signed to AEW. He is signed to AEW. But to your point, I don't know the extent of which that contract works with him. Like, that's how long he's been gone. I'd forgotten.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, he had signed like a 5 or 6 year deal with New Japan, and when that happened, and this was before his run in New Japan, he had made a press release saying that was going to be like his last. He wanted to retire in Japan. That was going to be his last contract, and then he kind of doubled back on that and had some. And this is also, to be fair to him, New Japan was going through ownership change, booking changes. That's when Gato stepped down from booking. They started the booking committee, and now Tanahashi is there. So it's kind of it's been a long period of time since I've really thought that hard about Kota Ibushi.
Yeah, same. He's 42, by the way. So, yeah. Well, kids, I think that's going to do it for us here today.
Maybe Tanahashi will pull a Tony Khan, Vince McMahon, and tack on the injury time for Kota. Just responding to.
I'm just saying, you never can tell.
James's comment there.
Never can tell. Chris, before we get out of here, what are you doing right now? Are you doing anything actively creating, or are you just working on the internet behind the scenes? What you got?
Christopher.r.patton on Facebook, Chris.r.patton on Twitter. I've been putting music out there. If you guys like funny covers, I do a bunch of Taylor Swift covers. They're hilarious. Check those out. I got SoundCloud stuff. Podcast is incoming. Like I said, December. It'll be a big episode. So
wonderful for that. Yeah. We'll be here for it. Just let me know Because if you're going to get highly specific on some podcast topics and take time talking about it, I could absolutely be here for that. And yeah, because I like to do other stuff besides pro wrestling for sure. So, Chris, thanks again for jumping on, man. I appreciate you very much, and thanks for hanging out today with us.
Thanks for having me. Everyone be safe and then enjoy the pay-per-view.
Yeah, man. Thanks. You too. All right, kids, there you have it. Christopher Ray Patton to you lot. His friends call him Chris. Miss Jackson if you're nasty. Anyway, so look, folks, thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I didn't do a lot of bells and whistles for this episode. I didn't cut a lot of crazy promos or run, teasers and all that like I've done in the past. And 350 is an accomplishment, and I'm grateful for still going. The voice is still working as much as it can, right? And, we're doing what we can. But sometimes a number is a number is a number is a number, and you move on. We'll do something great big for 400. How about that? 400 will be coming. Eventually, we'll hit it. But, yeah, a couple things before we leave, kids. Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast. Season 3, Episode 7 drops tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tom Clark's 6M podcast. We're doing the Blade trilogy right now. Blade 1 came out Tuesday. This coming Tuesday, Blade 2. And the next week, because of reasons, Blade Trinity. And I know what you're thinking. Yeah, we did it. I don't know. I could have said no, but we're doing it. It is what it is. So do me a favor, kids. You can get links to all those shows. You'll find links to Chris's shows when he gets up and running with his website. You'll find links to Jay Luft. You'll find links to Joe Higgins. You'll find links to everyone I podcasted with. If those guys and gals have a podcast of their own or appear on someone else's show, it's linked on boinkstudios.com. That way you don't have to go Googling and try to hunt somebody down. You can find everything you need to know on boinkstudios.com. If you will, please visit and bookmark the site today. That means loads to me. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thanks for hanging out with us here today, kids. I appreciate you very much. As Chris said earlier, please be safe out there. Everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy the pay-per-view tomorrow night. Again, everybody, please be safe. If you're dealing with the hurricane weather, hang in there. And kids, if you've got anything you can throw at any of these worthwhile organizations that are doing really good work in North Carolina and Georgia and Florida as we speak, look it up. I don't have links to drop for you. Beware of scam phone calls. I know it's going around. Beware of scam emails. They're not real. People want to get upset about something they think's really going on out there. That's what they should be getting upset about, not about the help that is actually currently helping and the money that's actually being sent and resources that's actually being used. Get mad at something worthwhile and stop falling for stuff on the internet. Not you guys. You guys are awesome. But everybody else, stop falling for weird stuff online. Thanks again, kids, for hanging out. I appreciate you. If everything is good, we'll see you next week with episode 351. Thanks again, kids. We'll see you later. Have a great weekend, folks.